Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, we've got some Darkest Timeline. I think we can all agree this is the Darkest Timeline, and this is the podcast that covers that. We've got games, movies and TV, something from the week, and, anything else that might crop up. If you're checking us out on YouTube, thanks. If you're subscribing on YouTube, bigger thanks. If you're an audio listener, SoundCloud, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts, you can also subscribe there, and subscribing really does help the podcast out. So thank you. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. Oh, right then. There we go. Get this party started. And let's face it, it is a party. So, bit of a different, a little bit different this week. I had a plan, and I was going to stick to my plan. And then plans changed the way that plans have a tendency to do. But not necessarily for the worst. So I had one of those, I wrote a thing on a list. It was relevant at the time, then it changed. So I was like, well, I'll still do what I wrote on the list. Then it turns out today, at time of recording and all of that gumph, today is International Women's Day. Not to date this podcast, but it is. So there. So I was like, do you know something? I can tie the two things together. So I'll tell you what the two things were. Obviously, one is that today is International Women's Day, and the other is I was going to talk about. Initially, I was going to talk about my youngest daughter, and some stuff about that, and then that evolved into talking about my children, and basically the stage that my youngest is at now, and how that reflects on my other two children. And I was like, when you compare, at this age, this child was doing this. But then, with it being International Women's Day, woman, I was like, well, I have three daughters, and I have this whole on I don't know, on a bad day, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes on a bad day, the female of the species, not my favourite people. On those same days, the male of the species might also not be my favourite people. So there's that. And we got this whole thing that it's International Women's Day, and I was like, well, if I'm honest, females, make up pretty much some of my favourite people. So I'm gonna smash the two things together. I'm gonna talk about my favourite women, and I'm gonna talk about how that ties into my three children. So probably kind of like a bit of a warning, I guess. If you don't tune into this podcast for the dad stuff, this might be a section to skip. But hey, let's big up those ladies. So I have three children that we know of, and they are all girls. And They are absolutely three of my favourite people. It's that, I feel fortunate that they are my children, because they are three of my favourite people. All of them are completely different to each other. So, there's that. Leanne, hands down, and has been for 20 plus years, is hands down one of my favourite people. Just the way, that's just the way it is. I thoroughly enjoy spending time with Leanne. It's one of those. Honestly, I could probably do a whole podcast on that subject. So that's four. We're up to four. Four favourite people who are all ladies. There's my sister, absolute top lady. And then you start to go a little further afield. We've got Donna, Lan's mum, one of my favourite people. Again, further afield than that, big shout out to Sky and Harriet. Some of my favourite people. I thoroughly enjoy spending time with all of these people. I've got my niece, and it's just my point is that I'm fortunate to be related to a lot of these people, and on the flip side, I've got just these people that I know, and I could I'm not singling out these people over other people. I could sit for probably quite a long time and talk about my favourite ladies. As a contrast, some of my favourite men, old school podcast alum Thomas Quinn, hands down one of my favourite all-time people. Podcast alum Edward, old Dencho. Just these are people that are in my life. I feel fortunate to have known. I've got my long-suffering friend Luke, podcast alum. I've got my long-suffering co-host for the most, Paul, and we've got Stu, we've got Matt, we've got Rob, another one of my absolute favourite people. But it's International Women's Day, so whereas I can give a contrast, I do want to give a big shout out to my favourite ladies, all the single ladies. So how does that tie in to talking dad stuff? Well, let me tell you. So my youngest is sort of reaching a certain age. She's got a birthday coming up. Had this sort of point in time where she was a bit of a monster. Testing those boundaries and all of that, which was fine. Ups and downs, ins and outs, and all of that. And then, like I say, sort of like a week ago, hit this point where she was just an absolute angel. And it made me reflect on my other children at the same age. My eldest, it's kind of one of those. I wanted to give my eldest a shout out because she hates this story. But up until the age of sort of 2.5, she hated me, like full blown hated me. You know, didn't want to spend time with me. Didn't want to really have anything to do with me. When like times when she was sick, just wouldn't have me anywhere near her. She just didn't. She just didn't like me. And yeah, up until sort of 2.5 sort of area. And yeah, I think that was a mixture of things. I think it was conditioned into her to not like me, whereas I also wasn't there as much as I should have been for her. So you know, and then we had this point in time where we had to, where we spent time together, and it was just me and it was just her, and I was terrified of this, and I think there's probably an element of that from her side. And then something broke, something snapped, and we spent more and more of this one-on-one time together, and we both started to enjoy it more and more. And then this bond formed, and she just became my absolute world, my absolute everything. And that has never changed. So yeah, you know, to this exact moment and beyond, my absolute world, my absolute everything. And on this International Women's Day, what would it be? Probably a bit late for that conversation. I want to take the opportunity to celebrate the women in my life, and my eldest daughter is up there at the top. So, as I said, all of my children are wildly different to each other. So that brings me to my middle daughter, who from the very beginning, I was her favourite person. Absolute favourite person. Used to say to her when she was little, "Who's your favourite?" "Daddy." And that was when she was little. Which was a nice, refreshing contrast. All of that has changed over the years, and a variety of different things, a variety of different reasons. But she's the funny one, I think, is how I would describe my middle daughter. She's the funny one. She makes me laugh. And yeah, she is also up there as an international woman of mystery. No. So that brings me to my jeez. Brings me to the youngest, who was an absolute angel for a whole week, and I was just like, oh man, I love this time, I love this point where everything comes together and everything clicks, and it's just, you just enjoy spending time with them, and they're enjoying spending time with you, and you spend all the time laughing and messing about all of this, and it's just it's so good and it's so pure and it's such a great time. And then we get to the weekend, and yeah, we're all together, and obviously, you know, little people's brains and things, and it was like, I'm not feeling like I'm getting enough attention. How can I get more attention? I know I'll be an absolute terror. So yeah, she was just a monster through the entire weekend, and then woke up today, you know, back we're supporting the old Halo. So yeah, just I wrote it down on my list. I was like, I'm going to talk about how much I'm enjoying spending time with my youngest. And then I was like, and that can lead on to me talking about all of my children at this age. And then yeah, she spent the entire weekend being an absolute monster, and it all went out the window until it was revealed that today was International Women's Day, and I was like, do you know what? Yeah, not always my favourite people, but then I realised, I was like, do you know something? That's not true, because my favourite people, more often than not, are women. So yeah, I wanted to firmly salute the international women. So yeah, there you go. Big up with the bad self women. Last week I teased something I'm well known for. I teased that I was going to talk about a couple of subjects, and I'm not going to lie, they were kind of throwaway comments. One of them especially, because the last thing I would want is for anything to be held against me. But then I was like, well, maybe it's going to get held against me that I said I was going to talk about these things, and then didn't. So do you know what? Let's talk some real turkey. Let's talk real for a moment. Let's break it down. So I've been trying to deal with my anger. Yeah. More often than not, quite a lot, I see this podcast as a form of therapy. You know, what is therapy after all, if not paying somebody to listen to you talk about your problems? So, you know, in the world of free podcasting, I get to do that for free. But I've been having this thing. Let me tell you about this situation. Mainly I'm taking it in turns, week by week, to take the youngest to nursery, and it's the absolute worst. It's the absolute worst, because of the way the world is at the moment. There are these time slots, so each age group has a time slot, and you've got to take your child at a particular time, and it's the absolute worst. And I've been really struggling with this situation. It's one of those it's one of those situations where on a Sunday night, you're just enjoying those last few moments of freedom before you have to go back to work on Monday, and that's very different nowadays compared to how it was, with the whole working from home and rolling out of bed and switching your laptop on, compared to getting up and getting ready and getting out the door and battling rush hour traffic and getting getting into the building and getting there later than you wanted to means you're going to have to stay late. All of that stuff. It's a whole different world. But, there is still a distinction between weekends and weekdays. So you're just enjoying those last few moments of your Sunday. And then you remember, oh no, the child has to go to nursery tomorrow. So then you do the quick maths of, is it my turn? And you come up with the answer, yes it is. And then you go, oh, you forget. And then you want the ground to open up and swallow you so that you don't have to deal with the absolute nightmare engine that is taking the child to nursery. It's just like the thought of me trying to explain it now gives me brain ache, because every single aspect of it, every component, every tiny little piece of it is like it's designed to make you angry. So you've got to do it twice a day for the number of days, because obviously you've got to take the child and then you've got to pick the child up, so that's twice a day for the number of days the child goes to nursery. And every aspect of it is designed to just make you so angry. So because of various things that are going on in my life and in my home at this point in time, there's stuff going on which I can't reveal right now. You're getting tired of me saying that yet? Stuff going on, stuff in the house. Because of the stuff that's coming in the future, I'm like, I don't think it's right that this situation makes me as angry as it does. So I think I need to deal with this anger about this nursery thing, and I think in turn that will help me in other areas. So since I've decided to make this change, this switch, now I just go and this is how it goes. So this is the situation. Something happens, like one of the many things that could make me angry happens, and I'm like, oh, no, it's fine. We don't need to be angry about this. It's just a situation. There's not a lot we can do about it. In fact, there's nothing we can do about it, so we don't need to be angry. Take a nice deep breath and just accept it for what it is. So that happens, and then I'm like, oh, we're doing well here. We're doing well here. This is good work. And then the next thing that's designed purely to make you insanely angry happens, and I'm like, no, it's fine. It's okay. We don't need to be angry about this situation. What we should do instead is take a nice deep breath and just realise that there's nothing that we can do about this situation, and just let it wash over us and move on. Do I sound like one of those meditation voice? I'm trying to do my meditation voice for you. So there's that. And then in my head, when I'm relaying this, I'm picturing it like just every step, like you're in a queue, Because there is a queuing situation. You're in a queue and you take a little step forward and something happens and it makes you insanely angry, and then you have to go. And that is the process now. The process has now become, oh my god, this is just designed to and we don't live in a blame culture, but if we did, oh wow, it's, yeah. So I've been taking the child to nursery for a couple of weeks now, and I've really been trying hard not to let it get to me. And I think I'm doing okay, and it is bleeding into the rest of my world, which is good. What has helped is I did mention to Leanne about these issues of being insanely angry about what I've come to realise is a very silly thing to be angry about. So every now and then I'll say something. I'll be like, "Well, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is insane." I mean, and all I get back is, "But is it something you can do something about?" So that's the situation in our house at this point in time. And yeah, I'm saying to you here and now, I'm doing loads better, and there is a part of me that's like, yeah, now I've said it. I'm absolutely going to lose my shit in the next 24 hours. Bill Burr did this sketch. I'm not gonna rip it off, and I'm not gonna repeat word for word. But it was about. I'll give you a little taste of it. His wife said, "You always go from 0 to 100," and the kind of punchline of that bit of the joke is, she says, "I go from 0 to 100," but what she doesn't realise is I idle at 70, and it was, to me, one of the funniest things I'd ever heard, because it was one of the truest things I'd ever heard. I was like, yeah, finally somebody gets it. So yeah. So yeah. Funny. It's not funny at all. It's probably going to kill me. So, as I said to you, I teased some stuff last week, and that was one of them. So there you go. Would you like the other one? Go on then, seeing as you've been good. I'll give you the other one. I had a conversation with the aforementioned Luke the other day. I was asking him about internet scams. I was like, "You ever been scammed on the internet?" So that sparked a conversation. We had a fairly long conversation about it. And then it came back round to, why have you ever been scammed on the internet? And my answer to that was, I don't know. I was like, however, I was nearly scammed on the internet about 2 months ago. Do you know the phrase, if something's too good to be true, it probably is? I got into one of those situations. I've been looking for something on the internet for months and months and months. And I was like, when you get into the point where your search is all but exhausted. And I was like, maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. Maybe I've gone to the wrong part of the internet. Maybe I need to go to a different part of the internet. So I did a Google, and then it's like, the websites you would expect. The websites I've been frequenting for months were like some of the first ones to come off. I was like, well, I'm kind of at the end of what these websites can offer me. So maybe I need to go to some other websites. Found another website, went into it. I was like, ooh, this is interesting. These people have what I want. But what's the deal with this price? This price is too good to be true. And I read more and I read more and I read more, and I was like, I mean, I can't understand. This price is too good to be true. Leon's like, why don't you ask them why the price is so good? I don't feel like I can say that, you know. Why are you so cheap, sort of situation. But I did inquire. I was like, you know, hi, I've been looking for the item that you're selling. Just wondering if you can give me a little bit of information, times and dates and places and things. And that was that. And I sent my inquiry off into the ether. And the person never came back to me. And that was kind of that. Or that would have been that if I hadn't been like, that person never came back to me. I'm put out by this. But do you know something? It really was too good to be true. So I googled the website. I think there's this thing, if you ever thought you've been involved or could be involved or might end up being involved in an internet scam, if you Google the website, but not like, I think if you put like the website name rather than www, if you put the website name and then just put scam after it, press enter, you'll get like various websites talking about various like places that are scams and stuff. So that's what I did. I was like, yeah, it seems strange I never got a response. Maybe it's a scam. Let me find out. Googled it. Oh, it was a scam. The entire website was a scam. Like just multiple results coming back like, do not use this website, the whole website's a scam. The stuff on the website that people are selling doesn't exist. These items don't exist. This time, just like reams and reams and reams of it. So I was like, well, that was lucky escape. Really lucky escape. Because the thing was, because I'd spent so long looking for this item, I'd have, you know. Oh, the thing about like a scam is you start convincing yourself. You do the legwork. They just end up taking your money at the end of it. You do the legwork. Oh, maybe this is the reason that it's so cheap. Maybe it's this. This is the reason it's so accessible. Maybe this is the reason. You do the work for them. So that was that. So I went back to the first set of websites. I was like, let's have one last look. I had a look. Oh, what's this? The item that I'm looking for. At the right price. So you pay your money. And it's like, oh, you know, we'll give you some updates. I was like, cool. And the reason that I'd raised this with Luke was because for a long time I've been getting like regular updates on the item in question, and then nothing. I didn't hear anything for a while, and I was like, shit, I've been scammed here, haven't I? So yeah. At this point in time, I cannot confirm nor deny the scam in question. But I did chase it up, and I did get a response, and I've had more information since then, which is somewhat comforting. However, yeah, at this point, it is back to radio silence. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows? There might be a point in time where I'm reporting on whether I've been internet scammed. So there you go. I teased two things last week, and now I have delivered. So to the takeaway the other day, I said, do you deliver? They said, no, we do lamb, chicken and fish. Boom! Hey! Right, that's all of that. That's all of that jumble. All of the mess in my head is out. Poured into the microphone. Recorded digitally. And then sent to the internet, to your ears, where you, dear listener, will be like, the fuck is this guy on about? Don't know why I listen to this podcast. The reason, not the reason, been a little bit quiet on a few fronts this week. So, I have watched American Gods episode 7. And at this point in time, I don't 100% know. I'm trying to think through what happened in that episode. Not a massive amount. Something that did happen, and I was like, so there's this stuff about the main character. For anybody that doesn't watch it, the main character may or may not be part god. Now I think that's not a huge spoiler because the program's called American Gods, so there's probably a chance that there's something to do with gods, or the title's a ruse. Either or, I may have spoiled that for you right here and now. In 3 series, the only evidence that the main character is possibly a god is apparently he can make it snow. Because that's happened twice in 3 series. And outside of that, not a lot of the godly stuff. Now, when I was watching it and he made it snow, all I could think was, if you were a god, is that the power that you was he last in the queue and he got to the front of the queue for god powers, and the guy at the front of the desk was like, oh mate, I've run out, and he was like, you got anything? I'm a god. I'm fresh out, mate. I'm all out of godly powers. Ah, shit, man. Queued up all day. Yeah. Do you know something? I can have a look in the Lost and Found if you like. Oh yeah, would you? I've got the godly power to make your nails grow, or the power to make it snow. Yeah, I'll take the snow, thanks. Honestly, it's yeah. It's in the book. I don't remember the second one, but the first one's definitely in the book. The first time he makes it snow is definitely in the book. And if I'm honest, that might actually be the only confirmed thing. I've said this previously. It's a very odd and in some ways slow burning program, and I do think if I hadn't read the book, did I mention I've read the book? I do think if I hadn't read the book, I'd have probably bailed on it by now. People ask me, I'll say I'm watching the latest series of American Gods, and people ask me if I think they should watch it, and I my general consensus is no. I'm like, No, I can't recommend it as a program because I wouldn't want somebody coming back to me and be like, I watched that program you recommended. It was rubbish. Some stuff happened in episode 7, but like, I mean, they've fallen into the trap that I find every weekly American TV show does. Is they just put the interesting stuff in the last 30 seconds. Like the last 2 episodes. The interesting thing of the episode has happened in the last 30 seconds. So, yeah, I kind of feel like they're maybe just up to their old tricks at this point. Not their old tricks, but American TV show old tricks. I don't think it's going to come as a surprise that I'm gonna keep watching. I'm gonna finish this series up. I do wonder how many episodes there's going to be, and I do wonder if anything of significance is really going to happen in this series. My biggest issue is, and I've probably said this every week, and my biggest issue is that. The area that we're in this series is what initially in the book I was like, why the hell are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And then when I reflected back, I was like, do you know something? I think that was maybe some of the best bit of the book. And when I thought that was going to happen with the series, they just haven't embraced it at all. I do get very baffled when you've got a successful book that makes either a TV show or a film, and then they don't follow the book. It's a very strange concept to me. But hey, yeah, like I say, I'm sure I'll stick with it. In theory, there should be a new episode today. So we'll see what episode 8 is like. I've not really watched any films. I almost went down the route of saying I haven't watched any films, but I had. And it was a bit of a weird situation. I put a film on the other day, thinking it was something else. And it turned out not to be. I watched the film Monster Squad, which is a film from like it's got to be the 80s. I mean, it just reeked of the 80s. But I got so far into it, I was like, this isn't the film I thought it was, because I was like, where's Fred Savage? Fred Savage wasn't in it. I was like, where's Fred Savage? Does he come into it later? Like, no, I don't remember it being that. In the end, I think I googled Fred Savage monster movie, and it returned the result, Little Monsters. And I was like, I've got the two things confused. Both from the same era. Both kind of similar films, but yeah, it was not Little Monsters. However, Monster Squad is a film from the 80s about a group of school kids who believe in monsters, and like the Hammer horror monsters, Dracula, Wolfman, the Mummy. What would it be? Creature from the Black Lagoon, is it? Frankenstein. So yeah, those are the sort of monsters that they talk about, and those monsters turn out to be real. And there's a story and a plot, and it's all about a point in time. If this point in time happens, then the monsters will take over the world, and this group of kids set out to stop it. The one thing that struck me as being just a really baffling concept. Other than the fact that being set in the 80s, the un-PC nature of this film was off the charts. Yeah. Other than that, for what was essentially what I presume to be a kids' film, so much swearing in it. There was so much swearing in it. It's amazing what would have been acceptable in those days. But yeah, the PC aspect was Needle would have been way off on that one. So funny how these things go. I then saw an article last night, and it was like, here's the top 20 monsters that Stan Winston ever made, and the picture that they'd used for the article was one of the monsters from Monster Squad. It's like, how spooky. So yeah, it was entertaining purely for the nostalgia of a film from the 80s, and I mean it just there was so, like the 80s factor was just brimming over. Yeah. A fun and entertaining thing. Other than I looked up one of the guys in it. I don't even know why. I think I'd looked up like a couple of people in it, and I'd looked at one of the guys in it, and I was saying child actor, had not really had many major roles. He was more of a like a bit character for a lot of the films he'd been in. But one of the major roles he'd had was in Monster Squad. And then I looked and I saw that it was like a from date and a to date, and I was like, oh, he's died. I looked at the timings. I was like, hang on a minute. He died when he was 22. So I read about it, and it was basically, other than a host of films that he'd been in, and then a couple of not leading roles but more leading roles, he basically didn't find fame, and had gone off to study law and died of pneumonia at the age of 22. Right, wow, crazy. So yeah, that was Monster Squad. It's currently available on Amazon Prime if you fancy a bit of a giggle. I have played no VR in the last week. Multitude of reasons. I'm finding very much that there are specific points in time where I am able to play VR as long as various things fall in line. And if those things don't fall in line at those points in time, no VR for this guy. So that has been the situation. So I can't update you on whether I've continued on with Stormland, I'm afraid. What I have played is Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, obviously I've kicked the living shit out of this game up till this point. And although I always come back to, deep down under all of the garbage, there is an okay game. And you know what? Let's start there. It's the best worst game ever. You know, it's a game that I genuinely want to play, and that makes it all the worse when it's at times unplayable. You know, the glitches and the problems that the game has. Obviously at this point in time are well publicised, So I probably don't need to go into some of them. One I will go into because it did make me want to jump out the window. But honestly, I would love to play the game that it should have been. Like, if they'd have had another 10 years to fix it. I heard a rumour that there's a fix coming. Well, there was supposed to have been a fix in the last day, but when I put it on last night, there was no sign of a download, like an update or anything. One of the biggest problems I've got at the moment is I think I've nearly finished it. Now, I heard early on, being made by the company that made The Witcher 3, and The Witcher 3 being, 100 plus hours, and that's before you get to the DLCs and stuff. This game was like, in length, like a dwarf size game compared. I don't mean that, do I? I mean, it was dwarfed in comparison, but now I feel bad that I've said that. Moving on swiftly, it's like the time wise, there was like their worlds apart. So I heard that Cyberpunk was like 30 hours, but to get 30 hours out of it, you had to do absolutely everything. Now, I'm the kind of guy who, if I'm faced with a side mission, I'm going to go and do the side mission to get the most out of the game. If we don't talk about Watch Dogs Legion, while it's currently sitting staring at me. So I don't mind like getting a bit more longevity out of something by doing side missions and things. I have no issues with that. But what I've found recently is that all of a sudden I became very much aware that I was like, I think I'm nearly at the end of this game. And if I am, that's potentially the worst thing that they've done. So then I started looking through like various aspects of the game. I was like, there really aren't any missions. I've got a lot of missions, but a lot of them are saying that they're like above the level I'm at. So I was like, something's out of whack here. I've got an idea. Let me look at the map. So I looked at the map, and the map's just like littered with side missions that just haven't basically appeared in the mission list. I was like, there we go. That's what the problem is. So I started doing these side missions. And they're fine, but a lot of them are like really quick. It's like, find a way into this building. Okay, how about I go through the door? Find your way into this room, undetected. Okay, I can do that. I have the tools to do that. Find this item in this room. Okay, I have found the item. Leave the building undetected. Okay, well I got in here undetected, so let's get out undetected. Leave the building, and then it's like, drop off the item at this place. Okay, I can do that. Go to the place, drop off the item. Mission complete. It's like, yeah, that's a thing, is it? So it's that kind of, I've got all these side missions I can do, but, they seem to be like that sort of thing. Like, alright, okay. Let me tell you about this glitch. So there was a bit in the story where you play as, if for anybody who doesn't know, which at this point in time I imagine is like one guy living under a rock, Keanu Reeves is in the game. Honestly, I didn't realise to what level. I thought he was just going to be like in it at the start or something, but no, he is in the game. And spoilers, there's a point in time where you play as him. There's a couple of points now, where you play as him. One of those points in time, he plays like, part of his personality is that he is a musician. So you, through his eyes, are playing music, but just very briefly. So it plays like a few notes, a handful of notes, and then you go off to continue the mission. So I'm playing, and I'm like, I'll tell you something. That music's a bit annoying, a bit repetitive. In fact, it's very repetitive. I mean, whew, it's not stopping anytime soon, is it? So the mission went on, and the music went on, and I'm like, wow, they really did pick the music for this, didn't they? And it's just these like 4 or 5 notes just repeating and repeating and repeating. And then I did some more of the mission and the music's still going. And then I was like coming out of this mission and the music's still going. And I got to the point where I was like, I am going to have to mute the music. I'm going to have to mute the game because the music is so unbearable. So I muted it and had to play the game with no sound for a while. And I'm like, right, by now, there's been various loading screens, this and the other. By now, that music will have gone. Unmuted it. Nope. Like, oh, wow. Carried on playing. In the end, I had to mute the game again, which is fine because I have the subtitles on, so it's fine. Obviously, you can't hear any of the ambience. Carried on playing. I was like, right, I'm well away from that mission now. Unmuted it, the music's still going. So I googled it. Turned out to be a well-known glitch in the game, which, oh wow, of all the glitches you could find, that's enough to make a man go cuckoo. So yeah, I've talked about it a lot. The game is horribly broken, which makes me feel worse because when I'm playing it, it's like, man, if this game wasn't broken, I actually think it could be, genuinely okay. Something I read in a review, which I didn't really notice until getting so far through the game, is that it taught, it's like, this city's massive and this city is so, as far as cities are concerned, it's so intricate. The buildings are different, like, it's set in the future, you've got all these different types of advertising, you've got all these billboards and they're all different and they're all moving and they're all doing something, and there's cars all over the place and there's, people here and there, and it's so big, this city, and it's so, everything's different, and you've got all these different areas, you've got all these different buildings, all of this stuff, and it's all completely wasted because you only ever go to like 4 or 5 different places. There's like a nightclub that you go to a lot. There's like this place out in the desert that you go to a lot. There's this apartment building that you go to a lot. Another apartment building you go to a lot, and then there's like this particular alley that you go to a lot, and then a handful of other places that you go to like once or something. And once you get to the point of the realization that there's this huge sprawling city that's all so different and so intricate and so, all of this stuff, and then realize that it's all completely pointless because you don't go to any of it, you don't visit any of these buildings, you don't go in any of these buildings, you don't have anything to do with any of it, it's just scenery. Why didn't they just make it mountains? It just feels, no surprise to anybody at this point in time, but it just feels like not a lot of the choices for the game make sense when what they've delivered is so poorly made. They could have easily made a lot of other decisions and then made a better product. I keep talking about the fact that they should have just stripped away all the garbage. Something else I want to raise. Certain games do this thing where they want you to really feel the consequences of your choices. Cyberpunk does it, but what it does is it gives you no time at all to ponder on your decisions. It wants an answer from you immediately. It gives you seconds to make a choice. And that way you just spend your time wondering, like, was that the right decision? Like, there's been a number of choices I've made where that choice is then removed. Like, there was a point early on where I didn't have a vehicle, so I just kept having to steal vehicles. And then somebody offered me a vehicle. But the choice I made was I was like, oh no, it's fine, don't you worry. Expecting them to be like, no, take it. So I was like, no, it's fine, don't you worry. And they were like, okay. Like, shit man, I could have really done with that vehicle. I don't have one currently. It's things like that. But it was when it comes down to like killing characters, you've got a split second to make a decision, and that decision then ends up leading to a character dying, and then you're like, well, I'm guessing that's the wrong decision. And then you talk to people, and those people are like, oh man, whew, character's dead, dude. You killed him. Probably the wrong thing to do, wasn't it? And you're like, I mean, I guess so. Maybe if I'd have been given 2 seconds to think about it, I might have made a different decision. And I imagine that there's probably a lot of it's steering you in a particular direction, so that at the end of the game you end up saying, well, if I'd have made those choices differently, I'd have ended up with a different outcome. But I don't like feeling like I'm always making the wrong choice and then having to live with it when I wasn't really given an option. So yeah, it's a very interesting I don't know. It's probably an interesting study, how not to do things. Although Crystal Dynamics are really showing how they are the masters of how not to do something, because they keep announcing how they're going to change the Avengers game, and every time they announce something, it's like, yep, that's the worst possible thing you could do, so well done you. They announced recently that they're going to remove the microtransactions and make the grind harder. It's like, that's literally the worst aspect of the game. The grind. Yeah, we're going to make that harder. Alright, so you actually want nobody to play this game. So there you go. That is it's one of those. A little bit ranty towards the end. I have considered whether it's maybe time to go back to Assassin's Creed. Unfortunately, I am very much aware of the fact that I walked away from that game because I needed a break from it. I was talking today about when franchises really try and go in a different direction, and people will try to tell you that in the last few games Assassin's Creed has tried to do that, but I truly believe that is a franchise that just needs probably a complete overhaul. Just really spice it up and spruce it up. But yeah, I'm sure they'll just churn another one out at some point. So there we go, ladies and gents. Bit of a mixed match. A a celebration of women everywhere, and then yes, a load of other things that fell out of my head. Thank you for listening along if you did in fact make it this far. And there we go. That's it. So there you go. What do you think to that? Another one done. Another week gone. It'll be, that thing you're looking forward to before you know it. YouTube watchers, if you're already subscribing, grab a friend. Get them to subscribe as well. If you're an audio listener, subscribing is also an option for you guys. And if you've got friends, lucky you. And if you can get them to subscribe as well, checks in the mail. So that's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye.